I want to talk about your record.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear in it, it's very lush. And the first thing I noticed was, I mean, aside from your vocal quality, which I feel like hovers towards David Bowie and the early 70s and people who like sang in that style, but the orchestrations, like there's like the arrangements. Where did you record this? How did you, I know that orchestras just don't appear.
Yeah. This was conceived with orchestral arrangements. It's not on every track, but the tracks that have orchestral arrangements, they had it from the point of conception of the song. So my music has a lot to do with what I'm learning. I'm always trying to learn more about music and how it works. And one of my teachers was Tim, my producer. He was also an engineer on my previous record. And we recorded that one at Red Star in Silver Lake. And we recorded some of this at Red Star and Silver Lake. All the strings were recorded at Red Star and Silver Lake. But some stuff was recorded at Sunset Sound.
Oh man.
When suddenly we had access to Sunset Sound, I was just like, okay, yeah, let's get some music history on these tapes. There were pieces of songs where I knew what I wanted, and there were other ones where I just said, Tim, we need horns and strings on here. What do you think they should do? And of course, he knew every time. He's very well studied.
In light of things, I would say this is a pretty significant piece of music.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you?
It means a few things to me. One thing, again, going back to my education, because I'm never stopping trying to learn things and use things and understand certain kinds of chords. I mean, there's a lot here that's about my addiction to major seventh chords and minor seventh chords in some cases. So there's a lot in my learning process about harmony, in some cases about rhythm. And I can sort of pick out songs on the record and be like, yeah, that's what I remember when I was learning that. And I while I was practicing, I heard something and what I was messing around with and was suddenly like, I love that. Why do I love that so much? And I can't get it out of my head. And I hear a song there and I just chase it until I have it. And then I'm just playing it obsessively. So there's that. Then there's also my relationship with Tim, which went from being a guy who was an engineer in the studio who I liked. I took him out before those sessions for the album The Great Bewilderment, and he said to me, look, I'm going to have a guitar in the studio, so maybe I'll play some guitar for you. And I'm like, yeah, sure, guy. And I'm a pretty, middling guitarist. I get by. So I didn't really know who was going to play guitar on this record, but I was going to play guitar on the sessions that Angie Scarpa played drums on. Every time Tim picked up the guitar, we were just like jaw on the floor. You've got to be kidding. Whether we needed him to do something like Steve Cropper or Johnny Greenwood or Mick Ronson, whatever was required, he had this beautiful, long, screaming feedback that was just orchestral. He knew exactly how to get that guitar to cry. We were just like, wow, this guy's amazing. And out of that, I ended up being his student. And out of that, I ended up writing a lot of music. And every time I wrote something, I presented it to him. And he's like, we got to do a record. And so a lot of the record is a little bit about my friendship with him. Mm-hmm. And this is all happening under the dark cloud of Trumpism. So this is informing the songwriting. And even though I'm writing these kind of lush and colorful pieces of music, I'm feeling like this is the end of something. And even though the music is lush, I think it's kind of, I don't know, this is I'm not an optimist.
Mm-hmm. But you're enough of an optimist to make a record. That's an optimistic endeavor.
It's a weird obsession I have about making records. I love albums.
I do too.
And I love Elton John and the Beatles and David Bowie and the Minutemen and Richard Hell, and I love reading about how their records were made. And that's my art form, and my way out is to just, it's the way I stay sane, is to just get on to the next record and try to make it better than the last one and find other ways of making it creative.
Well, how would you describe a major seventh chord? For me, when I was younger, I had a problem with their existence. But then it was explained to me that they're sort of gateways to the rest of a song.
Yeah.
And I'm still confused by them, but then it's like nice to hear it. But this isn't about me.
Yeah.
What is your relationship to a seventh chord? Major.
A major seventh chord. A major seventh chord, and I don't want to get into technical talk. I'm just going to explain it emotionally. Like all chords, it will react to whatever chords you put around it. So, but in most cases, even it brings a kind of melancholy. It just gives such richness. You can paint in red, yellow, and blue, or you can paint in a blue that has a real depth to it. And is there some green in that blue? Mm-hmm. Is this a sad blue? Because I'm seeing something happy, but it looks kind of sad. And like suddenly nothing is as it seems, and you get all sorts of rich language. And I know it also helps writing lyrics when you're writing to those seventh chords. It's written, some of the story is written for you in those deep qualities of the seventh chord.
They also look pretty cool. If you see a photo of someone playing, you look like you really know how to play guitar. Just that extended finger, like, oh, that person has mastered that instrument.
Yeah, I'm actually better at it now than my bar chords,
Yeah.
because I'm quite addicted to it. I'm very comfortable playing those chords, much more so than I'm playing tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
tick, tick, which I wish I could do, but.
Bar chords are weird. They're sort of, in some ways you think they're easy, but then just having like all those strings down can be taxing.
Yeah, it requires some strength.
Yeah.
And you have to be solid rhythmically. You can't be fooling around on a rhythm guitar playing bar chords unless you're chuck, 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 chuck.
Yeah.
Right?
There's like cheats around it, I guess. But then it's not, I suppose it's not really a bar chord then.
Right.
In your curiosity about music, what's something that you're like, that has still eluded you?
Ooh, what has... yeah. The augmented chord.
Mm-hmm.
I am on a mission to get as comfortable with the augmented chord as John and George and Paul were writing songs. They had a way of putting the augmented chord in a pop song and making it work, and I'm on a mission now. That is my next mission, is to start really finding how I can love and be loved by the augmented chord.
What is your relationship to rhythm then? You seem focused on that. Do you have any curiosity or opinions about drums, drum sound, rhythm, time signatures? Where does that fit into your obsession?
I think when I started taking drums more seriously, it was probably because of Keith Moon and The Who, because you had something to really sink your teeth in there. You had to listen to Keith Moon. And that probably led to my love of progressive rock. Carl Palmer and Phil Collins and Genesis. And, those drummers you couldn't deny them or ignore them. They were going to steal the show. And that's kind of what I loved. Bill Bruford, You weren't going to go see a concert where he was on drums, that you didn't spend at least a quarter of the time just going like, fuck, look at him, man. Yeah. He's incredible. So drumming, like I've never gone to the drums, and I should, but I've never like started with the drums when I write a song, like probably someone like Brian Eno and David Byrne do, and they love their beats and they're obsessed with an African rhythm and they want to incorporate it into their music. That's not where I start. I start with harmony.
For your album, what do you hope is the reaction for an individual? I don't mean just reviews. I mean like, you know, what do you hope someone gets from it?
I mean, I want people to feel like they have a record that they've got a lot to listen to. And I remember when I first played it for people, I was almost embarrassed because like it's almost exhausting to listen to this music because it is rich. It's like, you know, yeah, I love chocolate cake, but how much chocolate cake do you actually want to eat in one sitting? And I almost embarrassing said, I would say to people, take it easy, listen to a few songs and then stop, wait a little bit, and then listen to more songs.
That's a good policy. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you think you'll do any performances around this?
Yeah, well, there's this little
yes, we'll get to
problem that's standing in my way with that.
Yes.
It had been my thought, this time I'm going to go play some shows live. And I had a couple of interesting scenarios for it. But I think for now, we'll just have to see how Quasimodo I go in this next transition.
So, since it's been brought up,
yeah,
you've got this wonderful piece of art and music happening, and then some what could be described as medical issues.
Yes.
And if you could describe what that is.
Well, yeah, on the upon completing the mixing of this album, I started to experience some strange sensations, and things were a little bit weird for me. And I didn't.
Sensations such as?
Well, I thought maybe I had a hernia. I thought at one point maybe I had appendicitis. And then in December, so we're going back now almost 2 months, my eyes started getting weird. And I was kind of blurry. And I was so, at this point, embarrassed to even tell my wife because I started to feel like a hypochondriac. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go see an optometrist. And she took a look at me after I did these tests, and she was alarmed and kept asking me, did you hit yourself in the head? Did you fall down? I'm like, no. And she made me do the test again, field of vision test it is. And she's like, yeah, there's something going on wrong here, and you need to get an MRI. I'm going to send you to an ophthalmologist, neurologist. And I came home and I felt vindicated, you know, because you're like, aha, I knew there was something wrong. I'm not a hypochondriac. And then you're like, wait a minute, neurologist. And I got home and I told my wife, and she's like, no, we're going to get you an MRI today. And I, you know, in America, they don't give them away. But we convinced my doctor to give me an MRI, and that day I learned I have a tumor. At the time, they thought it was an astrocytoma. This was supposed to be a pretty quick MRI. I'd probably have an answer right away. And she's like, no, we're going to look at this more. They have to do more testing on it. And they come back 3 weeks later, an excruciating 3 weeks, waiting to get some answers on this. She comes back and she says, this is not an astrocytoma. And this is not like anything we've seen. This is what we call atypical. So I'm like, okay, what then is the plan? And the plan is possibly surgery, which the guy in San Francisco says, I think I can do surgery on this, and I think that's the move. Radiation, that's common treatment for this. Radiation in the brain does not sound wonderful to me, but that's what they do. And chemo, which is in the form of a little pill. So now this is a much bigger thing that I'm dealing with. Now we have to make a decision about what we want to do. And it's been excruciating week, maybe a week and a half, going from, okay, we're going to do surgery, which, by the way, you have to be awake for some of it because they have to test your language to understand what part of your brain your language is coming from so they don't mess you up.
Okay.
So I'd be awake for maybe 2 hours while they test my language and talk to me while they're in my brain.
Oh my God.
Yes. So like this was a really, really hard thing to convince myself to do. I could deal with the other stuff, but the idea of being awake while they go into my brain was not making me happy. So I went through different positions. I did come around to let's do the surgery. Let's do it. I'm ready. And then we got a second opinion from a neurosurgeon in New York. He said, not so fast. Let's start with the radiation first.
That first optometrist, were you able to tell this optometrist, hey, by the way, nice work?
Yes. I mean, no, I haven't, but it is on my mind. I have to go back into Lens Crafters in Burbank, and I do plan on telling her when I'm back there. She saved my life.
For your records, yeah.
You
were observant enough to
And I knew she was a serious person. I was like, that's the one. They said, do you want to see anyone here? I'm like, no. When is she available? Yeah.
You got the right person.
Dr.
And how was the vision things that you were experiencing? How is your vision now?
Not great. Not terrible. Sometimes it's okay. Looking at screens as we do, you're looking at your laptop or your phone. My eyes get tired really quickly. Also, looking into light is a big problem for me. Even with the lights here, like that one there, it's like, I love the light. I'm always in the sun. It's never too much light for me. And suddenly it's just like, oh yeah, it's kind of.
Wow.
Yeah, so let's just say 2026, not so good.
But not so good, but there's some, here you are.
I know, I got so much to be grateful for. I do.
There is hope in something's still working and something's still going. And when I talk to you, you seem like you.
That's good.
Do we want to mention the name of the album or something?
Oh, yeah, we probably should.
Just to make this a little more useful for promotion.
Yeah, so this is called Songs You'll Never Hear. It's an album title that came up during the making of the record, and luckily, from the time I got it, it seemed appropriate. It's tough out there. I don't think we live in a world where people are listening very much anymore, unless you're a superstar and they already are so familiar with you and they have to listen to your album. The idea of discovering new artists, discovering new music, taking 40 minutes out to listen to an album, that's a long lost art form itself. So Songs You'll Never Hear is kind of my smarmy, smirky kind of kick back a little bit to people because they don't listen anymore. But I've heard other people interpret it different ways, which is good as well. So there it is. Songs You'll Never Hear.
So Songs You'll Never Hear.
You'll never hear them.
But you will. Songs You'll Never Hear. Listen to it.
I hope so.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Wow. You're good at this.